Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Scripture for Thoughts video show. I'm your host and most, Reverend Anthony Ant.T.Z. Walker. I'm into my apartment room in Allerton Avenue, Bronx, New York, where everybody works hard, hustle the wise way, do the top investment, be all clean and spiffy. All up in my apartment room, Allerton Avenue, Bronx, New York. Now my sermon topic is when you work hard by doing all the right things, you should be rewarded. Now, my fans, my social media, everyone else, please give a round of applause to me, Reverend Anthony Ant.T. Walker, for my sermon topic. Here we go. Yes. Yes. Thank you for cheers, applause, and stand ovations. Thank you for the love. Now I'll preach a sermon topic on where you work hard by doing all the right things, you should be rewarded. Now my first example is Joseph. Of course Joseph was wrongly being put as a slave by his own brothers, and of course he was falsely accused of rape because Potiphar's wife wanted to sleep with him, but he shut her down. Now, the way that Joseph worked hard is become an interpreter of dreams, and by him doing all the right things, interpreting what will be happening in the future concerning Egypt and the people living in Egypt. Then all of a sudden he prophesied the dreams that Pharaoh would have. Then Pharaoh said Pharaoh had proudly accepted his prophesying of dreams, of interpreting of dreams. So by Joseph's rewards of his hard work of being an interpreter of dreams, Pharaoh has rewarded him as one of the leaders of Egypt, like a king. Now part one is Joseph and his interpreting of dreams and how he became from being a slave to becoming a king. And where you work hard by doing all the right things, where you should be rewarded. Now my second example is Peter, one of Jesus' disciples. One day in the book of Matthew, Peter had rightly answered Jesus by calling him the Messiah. So that's Peter's hard work, and how Peter got rewarded. That Jesus said to Peter, "You are Peter, and on this rock," Peter means rock, "on this rock I'll build my church around you, and the kingdom of hell will not rise against it. Thus I give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, Peter." And in the future, in the book of Acts, Peter became the leader of the Israelite church in Israel. Now part two is Peter, Jesus, one of Jesus' disciples, and when you work hard by doing all the right things, you should be rewarded. Now this is the other part is for the ladies. I'm not saying all the guys get all the hard work and they get rewarded. All you women get hard work, and all you women that do hard work, you will be truly rewarded according to your deeds. Now, part three is about Ruth and Boaz. In the book of Ruth, Ruth had hired herself to become one of the workers in Boaz's plantations, Boaz's harvest. Then, by Ruth's hard work, by working with Boaz in the threshing floor, then she earned Boaz's trust and care, understand, love, and thus this is how Ruth is going to be rewarded. Ruth has been rewarded by becoming Boaz's wife, and they had like a generation of, they have like kids on down the line to King David. Now, part three, Ruth and Boaz in the sermon topic, when you work hard by doing all the right things, you will get rewarded. Now, the last example is Martha and Mary. Martha and Mary was guided by Jesus, Jesus raising up the dead to Lazarus. Now, Martha and Mary, Lazarus' sister, they was weeping and crying and stuff, and Jesus said, "Don't worry, Martha, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to God except for to me." And then Martha said, "I believe that you are the Messiah, the one who has come into the world." Then here's Martha and Mary's reward. Now, Jesus had cried for Lazarus, that he had prayed, they had prayed to God for Lazarus' spirit to come back to Lazarus. Then they removed the stone with a bad odor for 4 days, and then Jesus spoke to God and said, "Hey, I'm doing this for the sake of these people, that they will see that you always hear me. I know that you hear me, but I'm doing this for the sake of people to be witness that you always hear me." Then Jesus let out a loud voice and said, "Lazarus, come out!" Then Lazarus came out with all grave clothes, walked out like a mummy. He walked out, and then Jesus said, "Hey, release Lazarus and take off the grave clothes away from Lazarus." Now, part 4, Mary and Martha and being guided by Jesus raising the dead to Lazarus. Now here's my conclusion. When the next time when you work hard in a job or anything that you put your mind to, or career, or anything you put your mind to according to your job and stuff, remember this: sooner or later, by the will of God that's over your bosses and everybody else in the business, in a business foundation and institutions, sooner or later you will be rewarded. Now, as for in my apartment room, Allerton Avenue, Bronx, New York City, where everybody works hard, hustle the wise way, do a down payment investments, be all clean and spiffy, all up in my apartment room, Allerton Avenue, Bronx, New York City. Now, as for my weekly Scripture for Thoughts video show, almost forgot. I'm your host of the most, Reverend Anthony Anthony Walker. Oh yeah, I preached a great sermon. Now it's time to cheer for me, cheer for my acceptance into the crowds of my sermon preaching. Where you work hard by doing all the right things, you will be truly rewarded. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for cheers, applause, and standing ovations. Thank you for all the love. Now, as for my weekly Scripture for Thoughts video show, a Bronx special, I'm your host and most, Reverend Anthony Ant Teasley Walker, preaching at my apartment room, Allerton Avenue, Bronx, New York City, whereby I works hard, hustle the right ways, and do a doubling investments beyond clean and spiffy. All in my apartment room, Allerton Avenue, Bronx, New York City. Now I will close. Now I will close down the show by saying, bye bye, see ya.